Cyprus, for example, you have 1 or 2 importers. That's it. If you lose one, you lose 50% of the country. Let me tell you something. The last thing to discuss is the price. If he's contractually protected and has the right to cancel if you miss your laycan, then you need to find an alternative client for your cargo, and in no time.
Welcome to a new podcast episode. I'm your host, Paul Uyoli. In each episode, we bring you exclusive interviews with experts in shipping, offshore, energy and commodities, sharing all the knowledge you need to succeed in these industries. Welcome to a new podcast episode. And today we are joined by Youssef Lamaa. So Youssef, you have more than 20 years of experience in the gas sector and especially LPG trading. So today it's a LPG masterclass, or LPG Trading Masterclass. So maybe can you introduce yourself, please, Youssef?
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm happy to be here. To introduce myself briefly, I am mechanical engineer by education, graduated from France. I have more than 23 years experience. Most of them in the LPG field. I used to be project manager, designing and executing gas network, that's the gas distribution network. Then I moved to trading. I also hold a PhD degree in leadership and HR management. And I'm here today with you to hopefully answer your question in the best way for the benefit of all our dear audience. Thank you very much again.
Great, thank you, Youssef. Can you maybe give an overview of the LPG industry, for people who don't know exactly how it works?
Well, actually, to start from the early beginning, let's say from the origin of LPG. LPG has two main sources. It comes from crude refining process and also from LNG, natural gas processing plants. So it's not only one source, it's two sources. Okay, and it's called LPG. It's because at the beginning the main source was petroleum processing. That's why it's called LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. But there is another major source worldwide, which is LNG processing plants.
Oh, maybe can you explain the link between crude oil and at the end LPG?
Actually, the crude oil is refined. It goes through the processing or refining process to extract many products. And LPG is called a byproduct. So you cannot refine LPG. You cannot refine crude without producing LPG. That's why it's directly linked to LPG to crude processing. So mainly the quantity of LPG produced depends on the quantity of crude processed.
Okay.
So this is a direct, straightforward link between the two products.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Macroeconomics in the markets. Who are the top global producer or the exporter of LPG?
Yes. Actually, there are 4 main producers of LPG worldwide. Of course, United States of America, Qatar, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. These are the main producers, worldwide producers and exporters of LPG. And regarding the importers of LPG, there are also main importers, mainly in Asia Pacific. On the top of the list is China, followed by India, Japan, and South Korea.
Okay.
These are the 4 major importers.
Okay, and what about United States, Europe as well? Do we import LPG a lot, or it's quite minimal in terms of?
Yes. For the United States, actually, because I did not put it in the list of importers because the local consumption is from local production. Okay, it's not imported. While in Europe, yes, they import LPG.
Now let's talk about the refining process of LPG.
Well, I have made some notes here related to give you accurate answers about the technicality and the steps of the process, extraction process. Well, crude oil exists underground, but it's with low purity. It's mixed with some water and sediments. So once crude is extracted, it goes through the first step called desalting. Desalting means removal of impurities from crude oil. Following that, it goes through the second step, which is called atmospheric distillation. Atmospheric distillation, if you look to any refinery, you can see distillation towers.
Yes.
At this level, crude is preheated, I believe they heat it up to 340 degrees. Then the crude started to decompose and form various distillate from top to the bottom.
Okay.
On the top, we can extract the light hydrocarbons, like especially LPG mixed with other gases. Then we go down to naphtha, jet fuel, gasoline, diesel, and all the way down to paraffin. I believe the heaviest one is paraffin. And this step is followed by a secondary hydroprocessing and catalytic cracking process to extract LPG. So pure LPG is extracted at this hydroprocessing. Then after this step, we go to the fractionation, which is a separation of propane and butane from other gases to create high purity LPG.
Okay.
This high purity LPG is ready to be consumed. And the fifth step is called stabilization. It is like a chemical process also to remove moisture and make LPG safe for storage. Okay. Following that, LPG is stored in pressurized vessels or refrigerated. But in both cases, it's stored in liquid form to save on the space.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of tanks to store the, what are the, I would say, the specificity?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. If you store LPG in refrigerated state at very low temperature, say for propane, for example, around minus 42 degrees, the pressure is minimal. So you don't need to build a thick steel vessel to store refrigerated. So you save on the structure cost, and weight of the structure is lighter. You can notice this on the LPG carriers actually.
No.
But if you want to store LPG in liquid pressurized state, then you have to go for a thicker tank, and that the pressure might go up to say 8-9 bars for propane and around 3 to 4 bars for propane in atmospheric pressure, atmospheric temperature, like normal temperature.
And yeah, and what are the risks in terms of if you have leaking in your tanks? Is it very problematic?
Yeah, let me tell you something about this. This is interesting. Actually, every single LPG storage tank is equipped with a pressure relief valve. And the pressure relief valve relieves the extra pressure, the excess of pressure, just in case of fire or high temperature or whatever problem there is. It releases the excess of pressure in the atmosphere. So in this way, when the relief valve opens, you make sure that the tank is safe and there is no excess of pressure beyond the tank structure capabilities to handle. And one more thing that is very important actually, because people don't make the difference between natural gas and LPG. LPG is heavier than air, so when there is leak, it goes up and then down. That's why it's very dangerous when there is a leak in a house, for example. The gas accumulates at the floor level. That's why the tiniest spark at low level might cause an explosion, which is not the case of LNG, because LNG it's lighter than air and it accumulates by the ceiling level.
Okay, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you about also safety. It's important. If you have a leaking in the air, is it like crude oil? It can be a disaster for our environment, or it's not really the case because it's a gas on
The leak, you mean?
the leak, yes, itself.
It's less pollutant, but it's still fossil fuel. So we can't say it's when we talk about LPG and we say it's like the cleanest, or it's not true. It is cleaner than diesel or fuel oil, yes, but it is not. But it's still fossil fuel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of ratio, you have crude oil and you will make LPG.
Yeah.
What are the ratio in terms of 1 gallon of crude oil? What can you produce?
Yeah. It depends on the origin of the crude oil, of course, but usually it's not more than 4% of crude oil. You can extract about 4% only.
Okay.
Of LPG from crude oil.
And in terms of quality of crude oil, for example, EV, light, high sulfur, is it like very important to create LPG to take into account this quality of crude oil? Or
Only in terms of sulfur, because if the crude has high percentage of sulfur and you don't treat this well, you end up with LPG with high sulfur, which is corrosive actually. And it might cause corrosion to canalization, to pipes, to regulators, valves, everything that are made of copper. That's why when we buy LPG, we always look at the copper corrosion and we make the copper corrosion test.
Okay, it's very interesting. Okay, so I think we are quite good with the refining process. Maybe could you explain the refining, not refining, but you say that from LNG we can make LPG.
Yeah.
How it works?
LNG is field gas.
Yeah.
It exists in the nature in form of pressurized gas underground.
Yeah.
So once it's cracked or in form of trapped gas, like in shale gas, like the case of shale gas. The purpose is to get a high purity LNG. So because it naturally exists mixed with LPG, with propane and butane. So to make this separation, you end up with a stock of LPG and a high purity LNG.
Okay.
This is a purpose.
Okay.
But if you want to use the LNG for heating, for example, heating furnaces, you might use it as is. You don't have to extract the LPG from it. It depends on the usage, because the existence of LPG in LNG gives the LNG a higher calorific value.
Okay, interesting. On the term of cost, from the technique from LNG and from crude oil, is it easier from crude oil, or why should I produce my LPG from LNG and not from directly from crude oil?
This has to do with benchmark prices. Sometimes it's cheaper from LNG, sometimes it's cheaper from crude. It depends on the availability of the material, the technology you have, the investment you are ready to put in your processing plant. And also, if you are, let's say, you are a country with a reserve of crude oil, you have interest to produce LPG from what you have instead of importing LNG and building a processing plant. So, yeah, but usually the energy cost from LNG is cheaper than crude.
Okay.
That's it in general.
Interesting. Do you want to add something regarding refining, or do you think we cover everything about it?
The principle is simple, but the economics or the investment behind are too heavy. That's why we see a lot of refineries, instead of, when they come to age, instead of renovating, they prefer to shut down, because the cost of such installation, it's huge. It goes beyond $1, $2, $3 billion. That's why all the refineries that were built in the 60s and now they are no longer fit to operate, they prefer to shut down instead of rebuilding.
I don't know. The average lifespan of weapon?
It depends on two things: on the level of maintenance, how much you take care of your installation, and the technology by itself. If your refinery is built on a very very old technology, like in the 50s, and you don't want to invest in new technologies, you better shut down because your cost will be high compared to new refineries. And but mainly what I see from what I see in the market, 50-60 years maximum, not more than that.
Okay. Now, in terms of the importance of LPG, do you think it will be still crucial in the upcoming years to use LPG? And do you think if we have less crude, I mean, if we want to not stop but decrease the crude oil production, can we still produce the same amount of LPG? And are we like so dependent of crude oil, or as you explained with LNG, we can be self-sufficient?
Well, actually, as I said, LPG is a byproduct of crude refining process. So if you stop or reduce the amount of crude processing, automatically you will lose a major quantity of LPG, which is not sure can be compensated at world level from LNG, because LNG production is limited as well. So the balance is maintained right now, unless there are new investment in LNG processing plants to increase the production of LPG. But as of today, production and demand from both sources are balanced, and importers, exporters, they made it on purpose to maintain this balance, to control the prices, their investment, and protect the market.
Okay, interesting. Maybe I want to come back to a question I wanted to ask you about the distillate, how it works, this process. You know, you told me that we need to distillate from the crude oil.
Yeah, once it's like water distillation. We all learned at school lab, when you have sugar mixed with water or salt mixed with water, we go for distillation. The water evaporate, and the sediment is sugar or the salt. It's the same thing actually, but when you use crude oil and you preheat it to a certain temperature, it starts to decompose into all fuel products, from lighter one, which is LPG and lighter, methane and the butane propane, butane propane, to the heaviest one, which is paraffin, I believe, in the bottom.
Okay, clear. Great.
There is also the bitumen, the fuel oil, the mazout, all this in the bottom.
Okay, interesting. So I think we are quite good with the refining process.
Yes, I believe we have covered it in a way that is clear for.
Perfect. So if you're happy about the first part, is good. Now let's talk more about the role of LPG trader. So you had experience as an LPG trader.
Yes.
You trade LPG. So first of all, can you, what does a typical day look like for LPG trader? And what is a LPG trader?
Yeah, let me tell you something. An LPG trader, not all traders are the same. If you trade for a large company and you lead a large team of traders, it's different than you trade for a boutique trading company, where almost you do everything yourself. In a large company, there are departments for every part of the deal, if you want. Because a typical day for an LPG trader starts with getting information about the market. So you monitor the market, you analyze what happened at the level of crude prices and the currency rates as well, and the LPG benchmarks. Benchmark means for example, Mont Belvieu, Saudi Aramco, contract pricing, Sonatrach pricing, all these prices, because trading is about arbitrage. It's about knowing where you have like a large spread to buy from the low benchmark and sell to the high benchmark area. So this is what trading is about. The main skill, or the main before we talk about the skills, let us continue about a typical trader day. Following that, you have to start discussing with your team about the physical LPG trading market, supply, demand, storage level, shipping, everything related to your core business, which is trading.
Okay.
Any trade has many factors: the purchase, the shipping, and the exit. Okay, and the financing as well. And throughout the chain, there is a risk to handle. You have also to sit with your, a risk management team, financial team, and assess the risk together. You explain the risk from a technical point of view, because you know your client. You explain to your risk manager who is this client, what is his position, history, and he assess the exposure, the financial exposure to the company. So this is what we call risk management. But it's actually, this is a very simplistic way, but it's actually way more complicated, because you have also to take measures to mitigate the risk, such as hedging or paper trading or all these things. But these are kind of advanced level of trading, which a junior trader should not worry about at this stage.
Okay. So it's interesting what you say. We know that you have the physical trading and the paper trading. So LPG trading, to be clear, this is physical trading.
Yes.
Okay. So your goal at the end, this is just to move the LPG from point A to point B.
That's the simplest definition of trading. Exactly. Moving LPG from point A to point B.
Okay.
But along this process, there are so many complications, influencing factors to take care of, to protect yourself, and to make sure that your trade is successful and profitable.
Okay. First of all, what are the typical type of clients? Are there, like, for example, as a shipbroker, we have the ship owner and we have the charterer. What about you?
A typical client could be like a marketing company, which means they own storage tanks by the sea. They import. They ask you to. They send you an inquiry. Once you make the deal and the delivery takes place, they sell to distributors. Your client could be another trader, because he has a short somewhere and he cannot cover his commitment for this month, so he buys from you to supply to his client. It could be an energy company who wants to inject LPG in their LNG to increase the calorific value of the LNG. It could be a government who is importing for the whole country through tenders. Usually it happens through tenders. You rarely sell to a government by direct sales.
Yeah.
It's always a tender.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are some examples of typical. Also, petrochemical industries could be a potential clients, because they use butane for plastic manufacturing. So petrochemical industries are also major clients.
Okay, great, interesting. And in terms of, you provide us that information, this is very important. The market can fluctuate. I mean, it changes all the time. What are the factors who make this market so volatile, I would say?
Yeah, let me explain something to you. The crude market is more volatile than the LPG market. Why? Because LPG has two different sources, and in general, LNG processing plant cannot easily be shut down, because they have long-term production or sales contract. Their production goes maybe through pipelines for industries, power generation. So the production of LPG from natural gas is steady, which contributes to the stability of the LPG market. This is from one side. On another side, LPG is used for cooking, heating, and also sometimes agriculture, auto gas, power generation. But the use of LPG is kind of day-to-day use. So it's stable. Of course, it's affected by seasonality. So when the winter is cold, let's say in North America, China, Japan, the demand peaks. When the winter is mild, the demand go down. And when in Southeast Asia, for example, in India, the demand peaks in summer.
Okay.
It's the opposite actually compared to North America. So, but this seasonality is predictable, and it repeats itself every year. So the LPG market is more predictable and stable compared to a crude.
Okay. And in terms of demand, if the demand is high, are like the rates increasing? Is it like following these economic rules, or is it completely different?
The demand is high. Let me give you an example. If the winter is cold in North America, of course, American producer will deviate most of their production into their internal market, which put pressure on the export market, which means the quantities allocated for export are reduced, which put pressure on the prices, and the prices goes up because the availability of product is less. This is an example. If there is like a natural disaster in Japan uses LPG as alternative emergency fuel. Okay. So the demand increases. If there are hurricanes in the Gulf Coast, it affects the shipping. So the supply chain is interrupted.
Okay.
It puts exactly these. There are so many, of course, add to this geopolitical problems, some sanctions, taxes, new regulation, environmental regulations, they affect the price as well.
And if crude oil is becoming very expensive, like LPG is increasing in price, or?
Yes.
Okay.
The prices of LPG automatically rises, but not at the same rate actually, because LPG has another source, which is LNG. But once the crude barrel price increases, it increases production cost of LPG.
Okay.
So it will automatically affect the LPG price.
Okay.
But here comes the role of OPEC. So once OPEC feels that there is like obligation or necessity to intervene to control the prices, they intervene. Sometimes they raise the production or lower the production to maintain the balance in the market.
Okay.
Because if we reach like a very high level of crude, it will reflect on the cost of everything, because crude is mainly everywhere in all the manufacturing, and it is in aviation, transport, power production, plastic production, everything. So it will affect the production cost of all these things, which will directly affect the cost of living of every single individual. That's why there is a necessity for an association like OPEC to intervene to maintain the price level.
Okay, very interesting. And do we have a route, like for example, in the tanker market for crude oil? For example, if you want to ship, you have the TD6, you have TD20. For example, you have West Africa to a continent. So how it works with LPG? Do we have these terms or these indices, I would say?
When you go for and read like a shipping report, mainly they give you like a reference price, the route from USA to China, for example, or Saudi Arabia to Korea, to South Korea, for example. The reference is always the route between major producers and major consumers.
Okay, quite clear.
Which is not the case for Europe for up to 3 years back, because most of the LPG in Europe comes through pipeline from Russia.
Okay, interesting. So you don't... Are you like shipping only using maritime, shipping? Or like sometimes you can, as a trader, you can use alternative solutions.
I can use rail wagons.
Okay, is it common or?
Not really. After this, all what's happening in between Russia and Ukraine right now, the amount of the volumes of LPG transported through railways are like so low these days. But the main and major mean of transportation is sea vessels.
Okay.
For LPG.
Okay.
Worldwide, everywhere. It depends on the volume. Of course, you can go from coaster to VLGC, but this is the main mean of transportation.
Okay. Now, Youssef, I want to make a little exercise. We're going to make it very practical. Imagine I'm your client. So I want LPG for my company.
Yeah.
I have a huge international firm and I need LPG. So I ask you, make an offer. Is that card by email or by calling you? And then how it works step by step. You as a trader, what are you doing as soon as you get the offer?
First, I need to understand your exact need. I usually don't rely on the understanding of the client about his need alone. I need to help him to develop his inquiry, to make a proper inquiry. For example, I need to understand his consumption volume, storage volume, and his sensitivity to price change, the quality of gas he wants, the specification, the purity sometimes, whether it's with odorant or without odorant, because if he has clients who, let's say, manufacture spray, they import propane, unauthorized propane, for example. But this is like an exception. But usually I need to understand his storage capacities and how long this gas will stay at his terminal before he got distributed and sold. Why? Because he might think that if I import a bigger vessel, so I save, I benefit from the economy of scale, so I save on my cost. That's true. But if his consumption is low, this gas might stay for 2-3 months in his storage tank. The prices drops during this period, and all the economics he made on the shipping, he loses on the price. Price change over this long period of time. So that's why I need to develop this, because I care about repeating the trade with my client. I don't want to sell my client one time.
Okay, very interesting. So if your client doesn't know about everything, you need to, as a consultant, you give him advice, what type of LPG you need, what kind of quantity, when I'm going to send you the LPG, every 2 months or a one shot for 1 year. Is it something you do sometimes?
Yes, all the time, actually. I need to, I care about my clients. I want to keep my clients. Yes. I don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose them. It's easy for anybody to just sell and that's it. But what if your client loses a considerable amount of money out of this deal?
Yeah.
It's not your fault, but you lost the client. He lost his capital, and he will no longer place new orders. He has no more inquiries, and you lost one of your clients. And in LPG, you don't have so many clients, because in every country there is, depends on the size of the country, of course, but there are very limited number of importers. So if you for a small country, let's say like Cyprus, for example, you have 1 or 2 importers. That's it. If you lose one, you lose 50% of the country. You see what I mean? You have interest to keep your client. That's why you need to educate him if he's new and he doesn't know how to place an order.
Okay, just off topic. To store LPG, is it costly? I mean, you need to, for example, if you send to your client, okay, I will send you a VLCC, the equivalent of a VLCC. Yeah. And do you think that if it doesn't consume a lot of LPG. Is it very expensive to store it, or what do you think about it?
Well, of course, like any business, you need a setup to start dealing with LPG. LPG is not like a product hard to handle, but it needs a specific storage and handling installation and material, which is costly, relatively costly, yes. Unlike diesel, for example, is less costly. Diesel is not stored in pressurized vessels.
Just a ton.
Yeah, exactly. So diesel is not dangerous like to handle like LPG. So the cost of installation is quite high. Yes, of course it depends on the volume. If you want to store 100 ton of LPG, it won't cost you like if you want to build like a 10,000 ton storage farm. But if you have 100 ton of LPG, there is no way for you to become an importer.
Okay, understand.
It has your storage capability, or your storage capabilities must be relatively big to receive the smallest carrier as well, at least. You see what I mean? The smallest LPG carrier, say how much, 1,500 tons or 2,000 tons. If you have less than that, how can you import?
Okay.
So these kind of things are like the engineering side of the LPG business. You will be surprised that so many investors don't know nothing about it.
Okay, very interesting what you say. Let's come back to our scenario. So you advise your client knows what he wants. What are the next steps? The second step, for example.
Well, next step, let me tell you something. The last thing to discuss is the price.
The last thing?
Yeah, the last thing to discuss is the price, because there are so many other restrictions. Some of them are technical. I'll give you an example. If your berth where you want to berth the ship to discharge is shallow draft, this restricts the number of vessels that can deliver gas to you sometimes to one vessel in the market or in the region. So it makes the logistics very difficult. So many times we reject the whole inquiry because it technically doesn't work.
Okay.
So you have to check the berth, you have to check the equipment, the specification, if the mixture as well, because some countries have different mixture in winter and different mixture in summer. For example, in Turkey, they import 50% propane, 50% butane in winter, while in summer you can go for much less propane. If your client deals with autogas, you must also consider the specification, and if you can provide the specification to him at this particular region of the world, because sometimes there are people in remote countries and they ask you for 1,000 ton of propane, for example. It's impossible for me to go, for example, from let's say from Saudi Arabia to the Maldives, for example, with 1,000 ton of propane. That's why you would be in a better position if you have a cluster of clients in that area. So you bring one ship and deliver partial cargo to many clients. If you don't have this position, you have to drop this inquiry before you reach the stage of discussing the price. That's why always keep in mind the price is the last thing to discuss.
Is it specifically for LPG, or you would say?
It's almost for every petroleum product.
Okay.
It's seaborne transported.
Okay, so interesting what you say. So now imagine, okay, it's good. You found like clients, a big amount of LPG to send, so one ship is enough. What is the next step? Do you need to find a ship?
Once you like make sure that the delivery time can take place from a technical and the specification and volume point of view, you start to discuss the financial tool to apply.
Okay.
Yeah. Financial tools are many, especially if you are dealing with like a new client. Better to protect yourself with a strong financial tool like prepayment or LC, confirmed LC from first class bank. So you can deliver without being worried about not being paid. This is for example. Next is to go to the execution phase. Once you are sure that you can execute, the financial tool is in place. Then, if you have already the allocation, you go load and discharge. But if you don't have the allocation, you have to scan the market to find the product to buy. Also, if you don't have your own ships, then you have to contact ship brokers like VRS to search the market for a convenient carrier. All of this before you commit.
Okay.
Because you might finalize everything and don't find the right ship.
Okay. It's interesting. So finding the ship it's almost the end of almost the last step, I will say. Because first you need to have the LPG, as you said. Sometimes you don't have LPG.
If you have an allocation of LPG, then finding the ship is not the last step.
Okay.
It depends on you on what part of the deal is missing. The missing part is the most difficult part.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Suppose you are very active in the Mediterranean Sea region. You always have product and ships on time charter. You're not worried about any inquiry because you always can manipulate, optimize, shift, delay this because it's not urgent, deviate the ship to a different destination. You have all the tools to control your deal. But once you have a deal in a new area where you are not well positioned, not strong enough, you have to start worrying about shipping and
is it most of the cases
and procurement.
Voyage charter or time charter or
voyage charter, spot delivery or time charter. These are all like models of chartering a ship,
okay,
or transporting product. It depends on you. If you sign a term contract with your client over 6 months or 1 year and you have to deliver every month, of course you have interest to charter a ship. You can't go every single month to the market and search for a new ship.
No, sure.
If you don't find it, you will fail on
your credit
on your delivery schedule, and you probably have to pay penalties or you lose your client because he ran out of product because of your mismanagement of the contract.
Okay, quite interesting. So we discussed about the shipping process. What else do we need to know? I mean, as soon as you get your offer, so you discuss that you need to know the needs of your client. Then you need to have everything in place, to have the LPG, to have the ship, to have everything, I would say, insurance. What is the next?
You run your economics and you tell him, this is my price.
Then this is the price.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Because for every deal, there is the cost estimation sheet. It has the purchase price, the cost of financing, the cost of shipping,
okay.
And the cost of risk mitigation as well. Sometimes.
So you are so transparent with your client.
No. You don't share this with your client. This is for you. Okay. Once you finalize this, you issue an official, firm offer to your client for him to confirm. But that's why me as a trader, I always try to make sure how genuine is the inquiry before I go through all this, because this is very tough job to do. It takes to generate one offer for a boutique trading company where you don't have everything in place. It takes 1 week to 10 days of hard work.
Okay, so that's a good. What you say means that if your clients go on the market, like he asks every trader, like he has the
exactly.
So for you,
you will make everybody working for
nothing.
For nothing.
Only one at the end will have the deal. So
yes, that's normal actually. That's normal. But what is not normal, that someone comes to you who has no financial capabilities, no storage, no storage agreement, and no distribution, and he asks you for an offer. That's why before you start, there is something we call due diligence or onboarding process. So you know your client. If he's genuine, capable of doing this purchase or not. If he's not capable, don't waste your time and be frank with him. Tell him, sir, this is not gonna work. Why? Because you're not ready to import. Very simple.
Okay.
And you can show him why he's not ready to import.
Okay, very interesting. So your client, he needs to have like storage, this stuff. So as a trader, sometimes can you like find solutions for him? He needs storage. Maybe you can find a third party who can get this stuff.
Yeah, there are many like solutions. Either if you are already well connected and know this market very well, you probably can guide him how to rent storage in that country. You don't have to build storage. You can rent.
Okay. In the case I'm a junior trader and I have a potential client, like early stage client, he doesn't know anything, he has nothing. Is it good for me as a trader to try at least to make the connection, to try to find storage for you, to trade LPG at the end, to find the ship, so to know brokers, or it's like too complicated?
Well, it depends how much free time you have, because sometimes you are a junior trader, you make one trade a month, so you have plenty of free time. Go ahead, give it a try. It's not a big deal. But if you are extremely busy and your resources are very limited, you would better tell him if he wants your assistance, he would be charged for this.
Okay.
Because you have limited resources. That's fair, actually.
Okay, but if you're a junior, most of the time you have time because you find your goal.
Yeah, it's a good exercise for you.
Okay, so
as a beginner.
You should say, okay, go for it. Even if you lose the deal,
you still learn some.
Okay, very nice. Great. I know many junior watch. I hope this podcast. At least they will give a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So now I want to ask you, what about the skills to be a good trader?
To be a successful trader, first it needs patience. Why? Because there are so many things to learn before you become a successful trader who makes high revenue. In the end, it's all about generating highest profit, which will reflect on your personal income. Right? This is the purpose of doing business, actually.
Yeah, sure.
So, beside your passion, of course, but on top of that, you need to develop your soft skills and mainly your communication skills. Trading is so personal. You will be friends with your client. Because you are dealing with a commodity that is first necessary. No client can afford to run out of product. This is catastrophic because it affects population. It has to do directly with their cooking needs and heating needs. So once you establish a good relationship with your client, it's difficult even for him to replace you. Even if sometimes he has to pay a little extra money to buy from you, but there is a high risk to move to a new supplier.
Okay.
Because of the sensitivity of the commodity itself. That's why you need to develop high communication skills to maintain a solid relationship with your clients.
So it's a long-term business.
Exactly. Very long-term business. Your client today is your client for the next 20 or 30 days, unless they decided to ban LPG. Third, you need to develop your analytical skills. Trading is about collecting information about what we said, about the market dynamics, seasonality, weather conditions, currency rate, shipping, benchmarks, all this. So your brain has to analyze all these inputs. That's why you need to focus on developing your analytical skills. This is very important. On top of that, you need to maintain a high level of market awareness. So every day you have to read the reports, attend the seminars, frequently contact other players in the market, ship brokers, commodity brokers, traders like you, participate to panel discussions.
Okay.
You need to be you need to be aware of the dynamics of the market in terms of trades and external factors affecting the market, like new laws and regulation, environmental laws, sanctions, geopolitical conflicts, all this.
Do you know big events for LPG professionals?
Yeah, there are many. There are many. Argus, they organize a lot of LPG conference throughout the year, every year actually. And there is also the LPG World LPG Association. They organize seminars. Big firms as well. Sometimes they invite traders to attend their events, especially during the Energy Week in London. And here it was last week actually, or the week before.
That's why LPG team was
here in Geneva. So that's it. And of course you need to to enroll in an education program that is fit with what you do, like economics, finance, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, commodity trading. Yeah. Also, as a junior trader, you have interest to go for an internship in a trading company. It will help you a lot. So all this, and that's why it needs patience. There are so many things to learn before you become a successful trader.
Okay, it takes time.
It takes time, but it's lucrative. Not at the beginning, but after the first 10 years, it's lucrative.
Okay, in terms of
it pays off.
In terms of salary or commission bonuses, how it works.
That's standard for a trader. All this.
Okay, so it's more like a job based on a fixed salary, and then you get bonuses, commission, like all intermediate, I would say, like broker, like a real estate agent. It's the same system.
Same system.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So as soon as you are good at what you do, you can...
Exactly.
Sky is the limit.
Exactly.
But
you have to know how to position yourself as well. You don't expect to make millions in a company that don't make millions itself.
Sure.
You see what I mean? You have to be in a scalable structure in order for you to make high income.
Okay, but if you bring big accounts, you can still, if you bring value for the company, you can...
Exactly. But this is different. Let me tell you, it's different than real estate because if you bring, in order to be able to bring big customers, your structure need to be big as well. If I am your client and I place an order of 2 VLGC a month from your small company, there is no way on earth you can finance this.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Your bank will not allow you to go through this trade because it's too big for your volume.
Okay.
You see, there are many restrictions.
The banks doing their own due diligence as well.
Exactly.
They see your company is big since like 200 years, I will say, I trust them. But if it's a new company, 10 years, I will say...
Exactly. If you are a new trader and you approach your bank for a trade of, let's say, 2 VLGC a month, he will say, just hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Gradually, we can go... Stop. Gradually. You can't jump from doing nothing to 2 VLGC a month.
Quite clear. The problem with that is that it's a client-oriented market. So if your client need the VLC, you won't say to you, oh, we can start with tiny vessels.
You would better say, I cannot do that at this stage, better than like engaging in something you cannot execute.
That's tricky, but that's so true. Okay, now
he will respect you more actually. Okay. On the next time when he has a smaller order, he will come to you. he will approach with it.
Very interesting mindset. Now I want to ask you about physical trading versus paper trading. As a LPG trader, do you need like to know everything about paper trading as well? Is it important for you?
Well, it depends on the position you take. If you take positions with high risk that needs hedging, needs protection to mitigate the financial risk between different benchmarks, yes, you need to learn it. But don't worry, you don't have to do everything yourself. If you work in a big company, there is a department dedicated for this.
Okay.
Like there is a department dedicated for shipping, for contracts management, operation,
Compliance.
compliance. So you don't have to do everything yourself unless you are a very small trader, but your trades will be small as well. So the level of risk is not high.
Okay. Imagine I want to do my own business with maybe some people watching our episode don't want to they already have experience with big companies, but now they say, okay, now I want to be completely self-sufficient. I want to do by myself. Do they need to know everything about paper trading as well?
Not necessarily at the beginning. If they don't take positions with high risk, no need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you will, to conclude about this difference, you will say that it's important to a physical trader when there is high amount of cargo, or is it what you mean? Or
no, what I mean, if you trade high risk cargoes,
right.
you need to have a risk manager who is experienced in hedging, paper trading sometimes, to mitigate the risk and protect you from incurring high losses. But if you trade back to back, which means that the same risk you take is on your client, the same, you buy on the same benchmark and you sell on the same benchmark, you buy at certain terms and conditions, and you reflect the same terms and conditions in your sales contract to your client, you are back to back. So you don't have risk exposure to mitigate.
Okay, that's interesting. Now I want to know more about your experience. Do you have any anecdotes to share during your career? I mean, as a trader or even in the gas industry, something that's stay in your head, in your mind. Something, it can be a story about I don't know, a client, a funny client, or a stressful situation.
Well, there are a lot of stressful situations. By the way, LPG trading or trading in general is so stressful. I'll give you an example. Because your territory is wide. It's from the United States to Australia. You trade everywhere. When you trade everywhere, it means there is a time difference. So when it's morning time in Geneva, for example, it's end of the day in China. Yeah. When it's evening time here, it's morning in the United States. So you have to be awake all time. You have to follow your clients all time. Your weekend is not necessarily your client weekend, like dealing with Arab Gulf, for example. The weekend here is Saturday, Sunday. There, in certain countries, it's still Friday, Saturdays. Okay. And so when it's Sunday there, it's the first week of the week, and it's your weekend here. They start calling you like if it's the first day of the week. So basically, as a trader, you work 7 days, 24 hours, or let's say 18 hours out of 24 hours, because you definitely need to rest. So this is so stressful. But, one of the funny things and challenging, if your ship is delayed and the prices changes against the interest of your client, he will start to find so many arguments to cancel the cargo. And this is so stressful. If he's contractually protected and has the right to cancel if you miss your laycan, then you need to find an alternative client for your cargo, and in no time. This is so stressful because at this time the market is too small. Everybody knows that this cargo is distressed cargo, and they start to push
Down.
your prices down.
Oh, and then you lose money by your own the company.
Yeah, whatever you lose, whatever discount you have to offer to get rid of the product immediately before the next price publication is out, and everybody knows that this is the new price, no one will buy at the old price. So you have interest to sacrifice your profit. Sometimes you go below, you sacrifice all your profit and you go even below. So you start losing money on the cargo just to get rid of it. This is the most stressful situation you can have. That's why most of the traders worldwide, they prefer to go for term contract, no more spot cargos. Spot cargos are so stressful, full of risk, and you rarely find a client who accepts to take all the risk. You have to share the risk with him, and this is too risky for a small.
About the parties because
for a small trading company, it's too risky. For big trading house, it's not that risky because they lose here, they gain here. They can deviate, they can manipulate. They have so many ships in the region, so many clients. It's not high risk for them. It's a matter of like rearrangement, restructuring of the delivery schedule.
Okay, well, it can be stressful.
Yes, it is actually. It is. Sometimes you have a laycan at a refinery, your ship arrives later, there is a queue of 2-3 ships before you, your ship is delayed like 5 days, 10 days to berth at your own cost.
Yeah.
Your shipping company is protected sometimes because they inform you that there might be a delay. You're not protected. You pay for 10 days demurrage for an MGC. That's a huge amount of money. For they can push a small trading company to bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's
Like it add up to $1 million, for example.
and the worst thing is it's not your fault. I mean, this is not something you missed. I mean, the laycan is like
Yeah, but there are so many companies who went bankrupt because of these things.
yeah.
It's not their fault, but money is gone.
Money is gone. Yeah. That's a very risky look.
You afford to send a ship to load from Gulf Coast in Houston, for example, and suddenly a hurricane passes and you wait for 1 month before you load, for example. Is it your fault?
No, it's not.
But who will take this risk on you?
You try to make this force majeure claim, but
Yeah, even force majeure is 50-50.
yeah, exactly. And the end, everyone is so you just play on trades to avoid this kind of scenario. But it can be very, very stressful. Huh?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, Youssef, I think we cover quite a lot of topics. Do you want to talk about something else? Maybe something I missed, I didn't ask you. Take your time to think about it. Because the worst thing with podcasts, this is when the guest said after like one day, I forgot to talk about it. I wanted to, but I don't want you to have this feeling. So
Yeah, actually, you need to always keep an eye on the new environmental regulations before you invest heavy money in fossil fuel. LPG, it doesn't seem that it will be banned or like removed from the market in the short term, but other fuels, yes.
So are you optimistic about the long-term perspective for LPG?
I believe so, yes, because there are still like new markets shifting from like charcoal, from wood to LPG, like in Africa, for example. And LPG is still subsidized in some countries, so people would love to use it and like extend the time, the usage time of LPG because it's subsidized, it's affordable for them, and relatively it's clean compared to other fuels. And but the LPG market compared to crude market is so small. It's so small, 4% or something like that. It's too small. That's why. And it's highly dependent on oil.
For now.
However, it's less volatile because there is another source, as we said.
That's good. I didn't know about it. And it's changed the game because to know that we are not 100% dependent of crude oil.
No, we're
It's
not.
very important.
Yeah, we're not. There are also some petrochemical processes that generate LPG, but that's like very, very small quantities. But it exists.
But you are still in the gas industry. So if for example, you are like LPG trader, or say I'm so scared in 10 years I won't have my commodities will disappear, you will still have gas. I mean, biogas or this stuff. So gas, it's gas. So if you are a gas trader, you can always switch your skills to the new technologies. And do you think it works or not really?
Honestly, I don't recommend anyone in any field to stay idle, secure that his business will last forever. This is a wrong strategy, actually. You always have to be prepared to change your field every 10, 15 years.
Okay.
Like, you don't know what happens, but that's since, like everything, with the technological advancement, expect everything.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that's good to know what you say, because the market now is technology. Like we have methanol, we have ammonia. We have, imagine.
I mean, you are into shipping.
Yeah.
How many of the bunker supplier, fuel oil supplier have lost their business in the past 5 years?
A lot. I mean, that's because it's the volatility of.
Yeah, 20 years ago, they didn't even thought about this day. It was impossible for them. For them, ships will always run on fuel oil because it's the cheapest fuel. Yeah, but they didn't know that after a few years there will be new laws related to environmental policies to ban this. It's cheap, but it's banned.
It's banned.
So you run out of business or you shift.
Yeah. And then you need to be prepared for this.
Yeah, you always have to be prepared. Believe me, whether about your job or your business sector, and even your health, actually. You need always to be prepared for the next step, because what you have today might not last
forever. That's a good end, I would say. Thank you, Youssef, for this podcast. I think you bring a lot of value. It's a real masterclass.
Thanks to you. It was a pleasure being with you.
Thank you, same, and I wish you all the best, of course.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening and watching this episode. We are looking forward to bring you more insights from maritime professionals, experts, and students. Do not hesitate to follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Your support means a lot to us and helps us to bring you more content.